afterwards, you just have this deep, deep sense of peace because now you're not afraid of death anymore because you've experienced it. You saw what was on the other side and you realize it's actually the most amazing experience in the world.
I'm in the big leagues, Tony don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston, ayy, feeling like Whitney. I need a bag, bruh, send it through quickly. I'm making his dog, like I'm in the big leagues. Told him that I gotta go, dog. I'm riding the road, y'all. I think that I'm back in my bag now.
What's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of None of Your Business. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, turn on post notifications, and you can also check out the links to all of my other socials in the description below. We've also gone live on Patreon, which has a bunch of epic bonus content, such as uncut episodes, early access, and something I'm quite excited about, live Q&A sessions. Once a month, you'll be able to tune in at the time of recording, and at the end of the episode, you'll be able to ask the guest any questions you want. But without further ado, let's get into it. Firstly, thank you so much for joining us today, Tony. I really appreciate your time. It's good to have you on the show. Just to start us off, for the listeners who don't know you, maybe you can just introduce yourself and give us a bit of your background.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for having me, Calvin. My name is Tony Wang, and right now I'm helping business owners, especially experts in personal development and spirituality, grow their online businesses to 6 figures and beyond. So my background has always been in marketing and building businesses. I started my first business when I was in college, and I've been doing that ever since.
Okay, awesome. What were the beginning stages of starting things out in college? What was the story there?
Yeah, so I just wanted a way to make some extra income. I learned a little bit about online marketing before I entered college. I think the summer before. I just learned some stuff like how to make a website, how to put affiliate links on the website, how to write blog articles, things like that. In college, I decided, why not make my own offer, my own product? So I wrote an ebook on skateboarding because I was a huge skateboarder at the time. And I finished the book. I sent it to some people to get reviews and to get testimonials. And then I just made a sales page. I had no idea what I was doing as far as copywriting. So I found another sales page on, it was like how to learn magic tricks. And I just kind of copied the structure. Like you have like a headline, you have like an opening, you have the bullets, all that stuff. And then I hooked it up on ClickBank. It was up, but then I wasn't able to get any sales because no one knew about it. So then I'm like, all right, how do I get people to visit my site? And then the first thing that came to my mind was just go on YouTube. So I went to YouTube, I typed in how to skateboard, and the first result, which had like millions of views, tens of millions of views, I contacted the owner and just asked him if he would put a link to my website in the description of his YouTube video for $50 a month. It was just like some kid. Yeah, it's like the first sponsorship ad. And from that, I was getting enough sales to make about $1,500 to $2,000 a month for the first couple years. And that was just really cool. It helped me pay for my college and just gave me some extra money and really opened my desire for entrepreneurship.
Okay. And just in a bit more detail, how did that then flow into what you're doing today?
So from there, I saw, okay, it's actually possible to start a business online, even though I wasn't making that much. It just kind of opened my eyes a bit. And after college, I realized that I didn't want to do anything with my degree. I studied chemistry. I was okay at it, but I didn't have real passion for it. So then I thought, okay, let me just keep doing this online marketing thing and see where it takes me, and just decided to jump in that full time. In the first 2 years, it was a struggle because, my expectations were, if I just grind it out, work full time. Eventually, I'm going to figure it out. Eventually, I'm going to have this huge business and make a ton of money. But that wasn't how it worked out. Instead, I was just struggling a lot. I was distracted by a lot of shiny objects. It was a little different than 4 years ago because no one was selling stuff online in 2008, 2007. So now it's become a lot more competitive and it was a lot harder. So I really struggled until I finally decided to look inwards about my own beliefs about money, business, things like that, and corrected some of those. And then that's when I started having more success. And then I started doing affiliate marketing, basically promoting CPA offers with paid ads. So my first successful campaign was I asked my mom to borrow her credit card, and she didn't even ask me any questions. I was like, all right, here you go. And I spent like $10,000 on ads on her card.
Crazy. If I did that, my mom would kill me.
Yeah, she had a lot of trust in me. But yeah, I made back enough to basically pay her back. And then also I had enough now to start running things on my own. And then from there, I started doing, just learning more about advertising. And then from there, built a company. Eventually we had, I think like 7 or 8 full-time people and a bunch of contractors, VAs and all that. Scaled that to 8 figures in revenue. And then after a while, I just got burned out. I just got burned out. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore because it felt like a lot of the products that we were promoting, I just really didn't give a shit about.
So just before you carry on, what was the timeline there? So how long were you doing it until you hit that burnout?
Probably like 5 years-ish. Yeah, I'd say about like 5 or 6 years.
Okay. And how long ago was that?
So that was 2013 to 2018.
Okay, cool. So then what happened? You hit the burnout?
Yeah, I reached a point where, I felt like I was pretty successful externally. I had my house paid off, just had pretty much everything I wanted in life. But, I wasn't happy. I didn't have the sense of fulfillment and purpose. It was something that I was never going to find chasing external success. Because I noticed what was happening was even after I would have really great successes in my business, I always wanted more because I saw like my friends were doing so much better. This other guy, I'm making like this amount, he's making like 10 times that. And it was just like this whole comparison thing. And I just knew that it was never going to be fulfilling. So then I just paused everything and then just really focused on my own, I guess just myself, like finding myself, as cliche as that sounds, and just really diving into my own mind. Who am I outside of these, just what I do. And that led me on this journey of inner growth and realization. And from there, I feel like I've kind of integrated a lot of those aspects where, I just see money as it's just kind of like a game. It's not the most important thing in the world. And what's more important is just your fulfillment in the moment. And that kind of takes us back to last year when I just, wanted to write off the marketing thing completely, even though I was good at it. I'm just like, all right, now I just want to help other people. I want to help other people. I want to coach other people to kind of have the same realizations for themselves, to overcome their own limitations and be able to find their own fulfillment. So I did that for a while and it was closer to what I wanted, but it still wasn't exactly right. And also I was just getting all these signs that, I've developed this skill set from doing ads and paid ads and marketing for so many years that it's just something that I'm like meant to do almost. And all these different businesses started reaching out to me for help with their marketing and growing their businesses. So that leads me to where I am today, which is helping others, other businesses grow their business, but I'm very choosy with who I work with. So one of the niches that I work with is with spirituality teachers, people who I feel like have a lot to offer and, they're not very business minded a lot of times. So they may not be able to grow to the level they want just because they lack that marketing knowledge, but they still have so many valuable lessons and insights to teach people. So I'm very focused on working with those types of businesses.
That's very interesting. So you've although it is somewhat in the same kind of field, you've navigated it in a lot of different ways and had a lot of different experiences in the field. Would you consider, the coaching that you're doing at the moment, would you consider this your passion? Or do you feel like you're still on a journey to figure out exactly what your passion is in this walk that you're on?
I feel like it's always going to evolve. It's never going to be like, I find it, I'm going to do this forever. At least I don't think I'm that type of person. I always like doing new things. But it feels like I'm doing this because I really want to, that there is something inherently fulfilling about it versus before when it was just like, I just didn't care about like a lot of the products that I was contracted to do. I didn't think they offered value to a lot of people's lives, but because they paid really well, I was doing it. So there's just that misalignment there. And now I feel like that alignment is back.
Yeah, yeah. So closer, but you're open to the fact that it's always changing and it might be something else in a year or 2 years or 3 years. Completely get that. And so in life, we all face difficulties. Doesn't matter our background, our race, our gender, where we grew up, we're going to face hard times. What would you say is one of the biggest challenges that you've had to face in your life so far? It might be personal, it might be business, but they probably correlate, they probably affected each other regardless.
Yeah, I think getting sick at a pretty young age when I was around 21, to go to the hospital for like 4 weeks. I was diagnosed with a chronic gut inflammatory illness, and that was just like a shock because I've been healthy my whole life. I thought, when you're young, you think you're just immortal. It was like that, and then all of a sudden, just like a slap in the face, like, nope, you're not. And and that really was kind of an awakening for me. Number one, just how important it is to have good health, but also how important it is to just do what you want because our bodies aren't always going to be around.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's crazy that you say, like, when you're young, you somewhat feel immortal. And then, oftentimes you encounter something that reminds you that you really aren't immortal and you get cut down to size, I guess, or humbled, if you want to put it that way. And so if you could go back in time, is there anything that you would change so far? Anything you might have done differently?
Yeah, I think I would have focused from a business perspective, focused more on building assets rather than cash flow. Because the business I was in, performance marketing, was great at generating cash flow, but I ultimately did not build an asset. I didn't have like a list of customers or anything like that. So it kind of does feel like it wasn't very efficient. And then a lot of the money I made, I invested into other businesses. Some were great decisions, other were horrible. Not other businesses, just other investments. If I could go back in time, I'd probably just build a brand and just have a long-term goal in mind of building a brand, building an asset for the long run.
And you said, if I'm not mistaken, the business hit 8 figures. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's obviously quite significant. That's quite an achievement. Have you ever sat back and felt like you've made it, like even at that moment? And if not, what would that look like for you?
I think in the moment, no, because like I said, I was just always comparing myself to, higher version of myself. Back then, my criteria was just like, can I live off of this money for the rest of my life? So it was like 8 figures in revenue, 7 in profit. So, it's not like possible to, I mean, in the US at least. In other countries, yes, but in the US, you need a lot more to completely retire these days. So no, I don't think thought about that back then, but now I have a different perspective because now it's less about the external stuff and more about, am I being completely fulfilled in this present moment? And if the answer is yes, it doesn't matter what's going on, then the answer is yeah, I made it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And you spoke about how, you weren't truly happy in running your business, a few years ago. Would you say today you're happy?
Yes. Yeah. And the reason is my happiness doesn't depend on what I'm doing or not doing. There's definitely moments when I'm stressed or frustrated or whatever. But for the most part, it feels like my life has reached a level of stability where, I'm pretty comfortable, but also I've gained an internal realization that happiness does come from within.
Yeah, for sure. And you spoke about your company obviously had some decent financial success. What is your estimated net worth at the moment?
I think 7 to 8 million, somewhere in that range.
Okay. I always find it quite interesting to hear different people's responses on whether they're happy or not, and also taking into the context of their net worth. It's always quite interesting, the answers that you do get. And at this point in your life, you've obviously received countless advice from different people. What would you say is one of the worst pieces of advice that you've ever gotten?
Okay, I want what comes to mind is the idea of faking it until you make it. And I don't think it's a bad piece of advice. I think it's just misinterpreted. I think the intention behind that is like see yourself as who you already want to be in the future, even if you don't feel that way now, and just be that. But I think just using the word fake it kind of makes it seem like you're either being deceptive or you're perceiving yourself as an imposter or fraud. So that's one of the pieces of advice I've received in the past when I was learning something new and wasn't really quite sure how to navigate that. And it was just like, oh, just fake it till you make it.
Yeah, it's one it's funny you said that. I was thinking about it today, actually, earlier today. And it's one I've always wrestled with. I'm like, on one hand, it could make sense. On the other hand, I'm not sure if I completely back it. It's just like, it's like 50-50. It's a tricky one. And if you were in my seat, what would you ask yourself and what would the answer be?
What is your craziest experience with psychedelics?
Okay, go on, hit us.
And I would say my answer is when I did a ceremony with this plant medicine called bufo. It's they extract it from a frog, a toad, and it's poisonous, and it contains 5-MeO DMT. And when you smoke it, have you heard of it?
I've heard of DMT. I heard it's like you have a complete out of body, I don't know, some crazy experience.
Yeah, so it's super short, lasts 15 minutes, and the experience is like dying. And I know that sounds terrifying, and it is for like 3 seconds. But then, this is what I experienced. What most people report, you just, you transcend death. And then you see that death is just an illusion. It's hard to describe, but you just kind of get that. And then afterwards, you just have this deep, deep sense of peace because now you're not afraid of death anymore because you've experienced it. You saw what was on the other side and you realize it's actually the most amazing experience in the world. That was my personal experience. Some people, they can't handle it and then they freak out, have a totally bad trip. So I'm definitely not recommending it. I'm just answering from my own point of view.
Yeah, for sure. That's very interesting. I've never spoken to someone who's actually done it. So would you say, like, this might be a bit dramatic, I don't know, but it sounds like quite a dramatic experience. Would you say you were literally different before and after having taken it, like a different person? Maybe not completely, but like just in terms of mindset or I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, I think any intense experience, whether it's like, just losing a family member or having a huge success or, psychedelic or plant medicine experience, anything that's really intense, I think it really changes who you are at the core, in that it just shifts your perspective on what life is.
Okay, and lastly, what is one message you would want to give to a young entrepreneur?
In addition to all the learning, all the taking action, all the external things that you're doing, look inside more. Just look at yourself and be able to just sit with yourself and see what kind of thoughts you have and just really know who you are. I think that'll really speed up your journey rather than just listening to YouTube videos, podcasts, reading books, studying trainings, and just all the doing. Yeah, just pay attention to who is behind that.
It's, as you said in the beginning, figuring out who you are, as cliche as it sounds, right? And so just before we sign off, where can people find you and your business?
They can go to tonywang.com, and I have a private newsletter. So you can join that newsletter if you want to receive emails from me with tips on how to grow your business, marketing, and just pretty much whatever's on my mind.
Awesome. Well, Tony, thanks again. I know you're a busy man, so I appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I need a bag, bruh. Send it through quickly. I'm making his dog like I'm in a big league.